Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Online with a C, CMC, Cataloging Government Documents. Barb Scoby will be presenting today, and she says that you can interrupt her with questions. So if you just put your questions in the chat box, and then after the presentation, I'll allow people to unmute themselves. So go ahead, Barb.
All right. Let's see. Good morning. Thanks for attending Cataloging Government Documents. I'm Barb Scoby, and I've been with IHLS since the summer of 2021. I started my library career as a part-time library assistant in a small Arizona town in 2010. In 2021, I decided that the wildfires were getting too close to my house for comfort. Picture on the slide is not a wildfire. It's called a haboob or a dust storm, but those are pretty cool. But because of the fires, I packed up my kitties and I moved back to Illinois. Okay, so today's agenda, I'm gonna briefly go over some initialisms and acronyms associated with government documents because everybody has one or the other. Then I'm gonna go through some examples, and then there'll be time for questions, or as Pam said, if you have a question during the presentation, raise your hand or share your question and I will see if I can answer it. Okay, so all these letters, IDOT, IDOT, is the Illinois Department of Transportation. GPO is the Government Publishing Office. CGP, Catalog of Government Publications. CONSER, I think, CONSER, which is the Cooperative Online Serials, and the GPO is a member of CONSER. FDLP is the Federal Depository Library Program. All right, so now I'll go into more explanation of these. Most government documents that I receive for cataloging, they're physical items, they're not digital. They come from IDOT. They were published usually between 1980 and the current year. And they're technical reports from studies conducted by government agencies. The ones I receive are mostly from transportation departments like IDOT. I create records for these documents or enhance existing records in OCLC Connection. Now, disclaimer, I have never worked at an FDLP library or received any training from the GPO, so I just catalog along the lines of what I see in BFAS and what is done before me. Okay. The CGP is the authoritative source of all GPO bibliographic records and cataloging activity. So that is the catalog of government publications. So that's the authority where libraries would go for authoritative bibliographic records. The government publishing office records obtained from other sources may have been modified by other cataloging metadata agencies and thus are not the authoritative versions of the records. With some exceptions, the GPO maintains its bibliographic records only in the CGP. I have come across a few records at OCLC that were created by the GPO, and their OCLC symbol is GPO. If you've already printed out the notes and everything, you can see that there's some additional information for this slide in the notes. Okay. So for my example, I prepared 8 items, and these are the covers for them, and they all pretty much look the same. Okay, so my first example is a report titled Assessment of the Impact of Unacceptable Hot Mix Asphalt Test Parameters. Most of the information needed to create a record for these type of documents is here on the cover. And then and the technical report documentation page. Let's see. I also flip through the document to see, you know, they've got charts, if they're color charts, if they're graphs, photographs, maps, anything that could possibly be on there. All right, from the top, I will go over all the fixed fields for my first example, and then for the rest of the examples, I will point out fixed fields that differ and explain why they are different. Please note that I prefer to go through the fields in Barb order, which is kind of something like this, going down. And then this sort of gets all put together. Anyway, I go in Barb order, and not the order you would go in if you tab through them. So please let me know if I lose you. Let's see. All my examples today are books. So all of them are going to have A in the type. And they're all monographs items. So these fields will be the same. They'll be in M. So these two fields, type and bibliographic level, will be the same in all the examples. All right. In descriptive cataloging form, the CMC uses ISBD punctuation in all records. So DESC will always be I. Okay, encoding level, form of item. The CMC always creates full level records, so this field remains blank for anything, any record created by the CMC. All of the examples for today are regular print books. So this form field is blank because I don't have any large print or online or Braille. All right. So nature of contents. Bibliographies, all are part of an item as a bibliography or bibliographies. Let's see. So all of these items in my examples have bibliographies. So we're going to put a B there. And then technical reports. The item contains technical report material. And because these are the result of scientific investigation or technical development, testing, blah, blah, blah. So for nature of contents, we have BT. Okay, so for illustrations, there are quite a few choices. Most of the technical reports that I create have illustrations, and then graphs are considered illustrations, and charts at a minimum. And then many of them also have maps and photographs as well. So for this particular one, there are no maps or photographs, but we do have some charts and graphs. All right, cataloging source, conference publication. So OCLC users at an authorized national bibliographic agencies will enter blank. And then BibCo and concert participants enter C. So the CMC is the, in all other cases, OCLC users enter D. And don't change this code if you're editing a record, because then you'll get stuck in this endless loop of errors and it's not fun. All right. So conference publication, none of these are from a conference. I do get documents that are conference publications, but that's a whole different presentation, I think. So this time I'm not going to touch on those. All right, government publication. This is I think this is kind of my favorite part to look at. So there's multi-local, which is multi-local jurisdiction, federal, national, local, multi-state, or state, provincial, territorial, dependent, etc. Let's see. Most of the documents that I catalog are either state or federal, but I've had occasion to use others, such as M for multi-state. And I have an example of that later on the slides. Okay, and for Festschrift, I've never seen a Festschrift, and I've never cataloged one. So I think every record I've created has a 0 in this field. And there has to be a 0 in there, otherwise you'll get an error message from connection. All right, so here's the big chunk of the fixed fields. For audience, IDOT doesn't ask for this field to be populated. If they did, I would probably use an F for specialized. Biography, none of these examples have biographical information, so this field stays blank. Litfic, all of these examples are nonfiction, so 0. None of these examples are controlled, so leave that field blank. Let's see. None of these examples are transcriptions of LC or NLM printed copy, so leave that blank. Index. Sometimes these reports will have an index, but this particular one does not, so it's 0. And the language, text of the document is in English, so English goes here. This was published in Illinois, so ILU goes here. All right, so the type of date and then the dates 1 and 2. This has an issue date of May 2025, so I used E for the date publication status. And you use that if the issue date includes year and month or year, month, and day. If the final 2 characters of the day is unknown, for an event known to have occurred on a specific day, such as an original broadcast date, then you put UU after the 5. There would be a UU. But in this case, we don't know and we can't infer what day of the month it was published. And then also to go along with this, in the 500, you're going to put May of 2024. I'm not sure why they put it in quotes, but that's what it says. And then don't forget the period after that. In the 264 fields, since it's just month and year, you're going to put the year in brackets. All right. So keep in mind that none of my examples are continuing resources. These transportation documents are part of different series, not serials. So series, not serials. Okay. The 022 ISSN is I don't have it in any of my examples, I don't believe. I put those in the 490 and 830 instead. And I'll discuss that in the next slide or 2. And remember, these are part of a series. So when I put in a 022, connection gave me this error. So it was like, okay, well, I'm going to do something else then. Okay. Field 027 contains a standard technical report number or an international standard technical report number. It's usually the primary means of identifying a specific technical report, but I did not find it on any of the items that I was cataloging. So instead, I just put this 088 field here with the report number. Okay, so for the 040, first SPI, that means the Illinois State Library created the record. And then it's in English. Now, the record is in English. That's what this means. This doesn't have anything to do with the language that the actual item, the text of the item is in. This is just the language of this record that you are creating. Okay. And then if you see here, like I made an update and then OCLC made an update and then I made another update. So that shows you kind of what's going on with the record. Okay. For this example, I used 2 area codes since the document discusses how the topic affects roads in Illinois, but the researchers also studied similar tests in other states. This 049 field, that's auto-generated, so it just pops up there. For the 100 field, the author, this person is the first one listed as author, so I put them in the 100. And then down in the 700s, then I'll account for any other authors. Oh. Pardon my cat sneezing. Okay. Okay, and so, and you'll notice in the 264, I put the year in brackets. Okay, for this one, it's got the general normal information. Note that there's a period at the end of the field because we are dealing with a series. So we have 490s. So that's what that period means. This is a single unit. And then these 336, 337, 338 are the, general carrier media content types. 340, they're black and white, the illustrations and the charts. And then, so that's the color characteristics. And then here for the illustrations, notice that illustration and chart, it's singular here. It's plural up in the 300, but make sure it's singular down here. This is also a spiral bound, so it's got that plastic spiral thingy on the side. And it has a bibliography. So, in the 490s, this is the ISSN number, that 01979191, I think. Hold on. I believe so. Okay. So, anyway, it goes in the 490s and it under subfield X. And in the 490s, the X comes before the V. Just keep note of that and remember. All right, so the next slide. The 500, it added all the miscellaneous things like the performing organization report number, the report date, and grant number, and all of these end with periods. Now the 520, when the Illinois State Library added this, the 3 means it's the abstract. So this is what shows up on that technical reports page that I showed you at the beginning of the example. And so that's all the text, the whole text. You could probably paraphrase it, make it shorter, and then delete the 3 so that it's more of a summary rather than a detailed explanation. Okay, the 504 includes information about the bibliography, like what pages it's on. 563 just reiterates the spiral binding. And then 588 is where the title info came from. All right. I think the 650s are like, I enjoy looking for them, and because you never know what is actually going to be able to be controlled and what's, a real subject heading. But anyway, I think these were there when I enhanced the record. So 655 shows that it's a technical report. And in the 700 here's where I added the second author. And then if there were more authors, there'd be more 700 fields. So these are the issuing bodies and the sponsoring body. And then in the 830, the series info. Again, this number is put here in the X field, and but the X comes after V in the 830s. Now, if you use Mark Report to just, verify, check over your records for any errors, it's going to yell at you for not having a period at the end of the 830s. Well, I put a period in those, and then when I controlled the heading, the period disappeared. So I just ignore those error messages in Mark Edit or Mark Report. Okay, so the 856 is the location of the electronic one. Some of these you can click on and actually get to the document. I think it's the Pearl, P-U-R-L ones that sometimes you're not able to access because, I don't know, you need a login probably. Okay. For this one, this is okay, I chose this record because it has quite a few variations in the fields, which I wanted to discuss. And the reason why I have ish after the OCLC number is that the record I found in OCLC is for the online version and not the print version, if a print version even exists. So I decided to create a dummy record for a print document, just to show an example. There's technical documentation page. I mean, it looks the same. Okay, so the source here is C because it was added by GPO, which is a participant in PCC, which is a cooperative cataloging program. GPub is F for federal. This one has photographs in it. So that's a difference. And here you'll note GPO, so they are the ones that created the record. And then in this subfield E, the PN means that GPO used RDA supplemented by the provider neutral guidelines. And let's see, 042 indicates that they are a PCC library. the GPO had access to the SUDOC number, so they went ahead and put that in there, so I left it alone. Okay, so in this example, the illustrations and the chart and the photograph, their color, so polychrome goes here. And then notice I added a 340 for the photograph. The sponsoring agency code, there was one on the technical documentation page, so I added that as well. And here's one of the Pearl links. I don't think you can access that, but I believe that's where this link is where I accessed the online documentation. Okay, and then the CGP, that's the, catalog of the government publications. This is what their view looks like of the record and not the OCLC connection view. And you'll notice too, it says online, but because I didn't mess with this one at all, because I didn't want to get in trouble. So to get to this, you can type in this address right here. And it looks pretty much the same as, an OCLC record. Okay, and see here they have the SUDOC number right here. Whoops. Whoa. Where did I go? Okay. SUDOC number. And then this one has an item number as well. So I added there's a 074 field somewhere. Okay. And then a record number. Here's another view of the CG. I think this is kind of like the cover page of the record. Okay, example 3 is this one was issued by or performed by, or the researcher, by the Midwest Roadside Safety Facility. So I consider that a multi-state because it's the Midwest. So I put an M in the GPub, and then this one actually has a full date. So I have E for the first date field, and then 2023, then 04/24, April 2020, April 24th. Okay. So in the 264, then you'll see that it says April 24th, 2023. Okay, and one thing I wanted to point out is that there is no period at the end of the 536 field. All the other 5XXs have periods, but not this one. And this is another one from the Midwest Roadside Safety Facility. And so there's an M. And then this one also has an exact date. So the 264 will have the full date in the C subfield. Oh, and also I didn't mention in the other one, but for the 043 for these, I added an N-USC dash, and that stands for Midwest because it covers, the Midwest. And then 513, this was noted as a final report. And also in the 520 here, this is also from the abstract, so that's why it has a 3. This one is pretty much the same. It's state because it's from Illinois. And it has just August 2023 for the date. And did I go over 082s? Well, normally IDOT already is very friendly and already has the Dewey number on the spine label, so all I have to do is copy it, but sometimes I do have to go fishing for it. Okay, so this is another one from Nebraska. So that's got the NUSC here. And it's got a full date. And then if you notice at the bottom, right here, usually when you make a typo and you go to control something, it'll yell at you, but look at this, brides safety measures. So yeah, that controlled all right, but it's not brides, it's bridges. So always be careful of your typing. This one doesn't have much different. It's just one of the same. And then, you know, the 650s, those are usually going to be different, and those are pretty cool. So, all right. And this one actually has a map in it. So I've accounted for that in the 340 and this 340 field. See, and then again, like I have the X's here and the X's in the 830. And I thought these 650 fields were quite interesting. Here are the resources that I used. So you can go to any of those and get more information. And are there any questions? And while I'm waiting, this is everybody who was on the call today in the CMC.
Hi, Barb. No, this is Pam. No questions yet. I have allowed people to unmute themselves if you prefer to ask your question verbally. I'm putting in the chat the link to the evaluation form. Sorry, it's so long. But there it is, because we do encourage you to provide feedback for this session, and we ask for suggestions for upcoming ones. Next month, Mary will be discussing the power of a name, talking about authority records, and that will be back on our second Thursday, so May 8th at 10 a.m. And sorry, we had to move this one down a week. And we do have the topics for FY 2026. They're just not in L2 yet, but hopefully within the next week or so, I will get those added. So does anybody have any questions about government documents, technical reports, cataloging? Mary S., has there ever been a government document that was so complex you weren't sure how to catalog it?
Yes, and that was one of the ones that was a part of the 4th annual conference of blah, blah, blah. So not only was that a conference, but it was also a serial. And yeah, that one took a while to parse through, but I just used examples that on other OCLC records.
So nobody had cataloged like the first through third one?
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, R. Allen says, I have some government documents that are older and have no SUDOC number assigned to them. How do you decide what call number to give them?
Well, I think like as far as what we catalog in OCLC, the SUDOC number isn't linked to the Dewey number we put in the 082 field. But I can't speak for FDLP libraries or the GPO or whatever they do. Does that answer your question?
So typically the CMC provides a Dewey number or whatever classification the library uses. So if it's LCC, then we add an LCC number. So Barb, are you saying that you would add a Dewey number, but not a SUDOC number?
Correct. Yeah, I will only add a SUDOC number if it is right there on the resource, because otherwise I don't want to assume anything.
Okay, they say, okay, thanks. And Mary posted a guide by Utah State University.
Thank you, Mary.
About SUDOCs. And we are recording this presentation, and I'll send out the link to the recording by early next week. Does anybody else have any questions about today's presentation or just cataloging in general? No? Okay. Please fill out the evaluation form, and we hope to see you next month. And remember, that's May 8th at 10. Mary will be talking about authority records. So thank you for attending, and hopefully we'll see you next month.